joining later and rewound to the beginning to see all this from the very start. This is a live demo overview, first look at Arturia's V Collection 5. I am in the process of writing a full-blown written review for the blog. That'll go up in the next few days or so. I'm about 2,500 words in already and haven't really finished just yet. And then I will probably do a proper demo video without all the gumph going on in the background and the coughing. So this is just really, for those people who are friends of mine or followers of mine who want to see what the V Collection 5 is all about and the improvements that have been made and the changes, and of course, most importantly, the new stuff, because there's some really good new stuff in here. So it is 10 to 10 at night here in the UK. Because it's a bank holiday, I have wine. So I'm going to be drinking that whilst I do this. This isn't a professional thing. This is just a very informal, off-the-cuff presentation. So there you go. So what I thought I'd do is start off with Analog Lab, because Analog Lab is the kind of the mother of them all, so to speak. So what you've got is you've got all these separate instruments, but Analog Lab brings them all together under one roof and delivers something that is just like a one-stop shop. It also integrates very nicely into the Arturia hardware controller, and their hardware controllers are known as Keylabs. Now I've got a Keylab 61. As you can see, it automatically picks that up. So if you've invested in an Arturia Keylab controller, then you should already have Analog Lab. Analog Lab 2 is next level, and it's so much nicer and it's so much easier to use, so much more immediate than the previous version. And Arturia have really gone to town on simplicity and practicality and a much more intuitive and cohesive and coherent interface across everything, across their entire software instrument range. So as you'll be able to see from here, every instrument that is contained within Analog Lab is here, and as you hover over them, you'll see it lights up, or just it's like a spotlight on there. Now, if you don't have any of these instruments installed, the full versions of the instruments, what Arturia give you is some selected highlights of each. So if you just simply get Analog Lab, you'll get something in the region, well, a few thousand presets, I believe. It might be a few less, I'm not sure. And by selecting one of these instruments, you'll get some, highlights of those instruments. However, as soon as you install the full-blown version of that instrument, then you get access to all of that instrument within Analog Lab. So that's a really cool thing to have. So as you build your collection, if you haven't gone for V Collection, as you build your collection, it automatically becomes available to you here in Analog Lab as well. So the way I see this being used by a number of people is probably from a performance perspective, because this will just give you a one window entrance into all of these instruments, and it's, when I say performance, I mean that because I think in a studio setting or a recording setting, you're going to want to tweak a lot more. When you choose one of these instruments, you get a selection of controls, but nothing fancy. So let's choose the CS80V. Okay, and by clicking on that, you'll get some information, and what you'll then do is you'll be able to select stuff from there. So let's turn that off there. So you'll notice, actually, I haven't pointed this out yet. you'll see that the wrapper that goes around the instruments, this is now completely common throughout the whole range of instruments. So you've got this kind of title box here, which gives you it's like the file drop down. So it gives you save and import, export. And this is the best thing, the resize of the window. Now before, Arturia's instruments were fixed resolution, that was it. And because they'd been, some of them were quite old in their design, they were very small. So for example, let me just fire up, let's fire up Jupiter 8. So this is, what I'm firing up now is Jupiter 8 V2. And this was the previous version. So there. So that's the instrument. Now I'm on a 27-inch iMac, and that is small. I mean, even with my glasses on, I'm struggling to read some of that nomenclature on the surface of the keyboard there. And there's no way to increase the size, which is just bonkers. It's absolutely crazy. Nowadays, most desktop PCs have pretty large screens, and so this is pretty useless, in my opinion. So that was one of the bugbears that I had, and in my review of V Collection 4, that was one of the big downsides, was that, fantastic, lots of instruments, great value for money, but incredibly difficult to use. So that's what we're up against. Now we have this situation where we have a bunch of options, so we can go from 60% right through to 200% normal size. 60 to 100 goes up in increments of 10%, and then 100 to 200 in increments of 20%. There's plenty of options here. What I ideally would have loved would have been, like a handle here in the corner of the window that you can just drag and stretch the whole thing to fit whatever pattern you want on your screen. But I'm guessing that with a lot of these instruments with multiple interfaces and lots of sliders and pots and switches and knobs and text and everything, that probably wasn't an easy thing to do. So they've kind of gone, look, I'm not going to criticize them. They've put it in, and it was severely lacking. So as you can see, I'm on a 27-inch iMac. I've got this running at 120%, so it fills the screen top to bottom. This is fantastic for somebody with piss poor eyesight. It's really good. So let me just show you through this, which is another cool addition to the whole of V Collection 5, is the search results and information page. So in here you can search by your own words. So you can just put in, any word, put in bass, and you'll get any patch with the name bass in it. Okay, so if you think, I know that there was this this patch, it was called Galaxy. So you just type in the word Galaxy, and it whittles all of those over 5,000 patches in here down to just the 4 that contain the word Galaxy, and you should be okay. So that's one way of using search. The next way of using search is by using these tags. So each patch will have a type, and you can select that type by clicking on there. FM, it gives you keys, lead, organ, so on and so forth. So you can pick and choose your type of instrument. Good evening, Mickey. Good evening, Richard, by the way. Just seen you in the chat room there. So if you're looking for a pad, there you go. Click on pad, choose a pad, and you can instantly instant gratification. Okay, so you're looking for a pad. Here you go. Here's everything that's marked as a pad. Now, what you can also do is mark these, and you can also mark them as favorites. You can do that as well, which is really, really useful. So you can do that. What you can also do is search by bank. So you can search through factory banks. So if you just want the factory stuff, so if you just want a factory pad and you want it from the Jupiter 8, there you go. Select Jupiter 8, and you've now got all the factory program pads. If you want the original stuff, so these are all the presets that have been programmed back in that are pads from the original. They're all there, and then you've got templates as well, which we'll come to later on. I'm just trying to figure out why piano, Vox Continental, Whirly, and Stage 73 aren't showing up in the instruments. They should be there, but anyway, we'll get to that later. You can also search via characteristics. Characteristics, so if you want something aggressive, if you want an ensemble, if you want something soft, if you want something hard, if you want something long, misses, or if you want something evolving. So you can just pick and choose by characteristics, which is very nice. And as you'll see, that every time I choose a preset from the results page, over here on the right hand side, you'll get the patch name, you get the type, you'll get the bank, you'll get the name of the person that designed it, you'll get the instrument that's using. There'll be some comments, maybe. Let's see if we can find one. Maybe with comments, I don't know. There's so many. Here you go. So there you go. It tells you slowly modulating and evolving pad with a healthy dose of delay. So these can be very useful in helping you identify and of course you can favorite these to make it easier to come back to later on. So this is just a fantastic improvement over all of this that Arturia ever did. It's just so very, very good. And you've got these playlists. So again, this is again from a performance perspective. You can build up a playlist. So if you want certain instruments, certain patches for a particular song or for a particular set list, you can build those up in here and then recall them up here in the main in this search tab here, and you can just recall them via the playlist section. So it's just a very quick access way of getting to a lot of these sounds. So I'm curious as to why piano isn't showing up in there, but that's okay because we can come to the individual. This is actually a first for Arturia, I believe, because I think this is the first time they've actually introduced a non-electronic instrument. So everything here is, whether it's a Wurlitzer organ or a Farfisa or a Continental or a CS80 or a Rhodes or a Synclavia, which we'll come to later because I'm very moist about the gusset about that. This is the first time they've actually come up with an acoustic instrument. Oh, I see. Now all the instruments are showing up now. That's odd. That's good. Anyway, so we're back in the room. So yeah, this is we'll look into this a little bit more. So we can also control what we see here at the bottom of the screen. So as I said before, I've got a Keylab 71. So these controls here that you see, the 10 dials and the however many is it 9 sliders there. These are all on my keyboard, so as I can grab any one of these and it will affect it. So for example here, this is the low shelf gain on the EQ of the piano here. So as you can see, there's 2 markers. There's this kind of faded out one, which is showing my actual position on my keyboard. So that's exactly where the controller is. And that's where the current parameter is. So as soon as I move that, you'll see that they'll join up when I get to there, and then they'll start to work in tandem. Okay, so that's that. And the same applies with these here. So if I wanted the D tune, so the D tune is just there. So everything links in really nicely. So if you have a Keylab and you have Analog Lab, everything works. They call it their hybrid synth, and it does it very well. Of course, you can hide all of that information if you don't want it, don't need it, and that'll just give you a full screen until you bring it back up to here. What else have we got? So yeah, you got patch scroll up here. This is just redundant space up the top. Here you've got MIDI controls. Now you'll see that as soon as you touch the MIDI button here, any assignable controller here turns purple, and then you can reassign. So I can click on this here, and it goes straight into learning mode. So it might be that I have a second controller, and I want to map those. So I literally just click on it, touch the controller, and it will map to that controller option, whether it's a knob or a slider on another controller, and I can then mess around or do whatever I want with that. So that, and it's really instant. So and I can also save those configurations. Okay, so I can save them and then import them back in. So very, very flexible indeed. Let's just go back into here. There's nothing else I don't think here that I can really show you. So you've got these effects here as well, so you can mess around with and then you can do everything. So again, it really kind of lends itself to this performance aspect, and you can drop in presets. Yeah, pretty self-explanatory stuff. So as you can see, 5,331 presets in Analog Lab. I think that number reduces if you don't have all the full-on instruments. Rich is taking the piss out of my playing here. I will make no excuses. I don't play, okay? I mean, I can string notes together into a tune, but maybe, I don't know. What can we do? So, yeah, as you can see, we've got multis here as well. We can create multis, much like you can with many other instruments. Very kind of sampler. See, I don't know why it does that. Why is it doing that? That's very strange. It drops some of these instruments out, which is odd. I don't know. There must be a reason behind that. But if I select piano, and we go back to, they're all back there again. Very strange. This is completely out of beta. So yeah, very, very nice. What was I going to do? I was going to show you something there. It's gone completely out of my head. No, I forgot I was going to say something. I've talked myself out of that. I don't know what I was going to do. So that's Analog Lab. So that really is kind of the cover-all umbrella instrument. Richard said he was being complimentary about my piano playing skills. Bullshit, mate. Change it to an organ. So let us. Let me just turn the MIDI stuff off there, and we'll go turn that off. So, should we go through? What would you like to do? Should we go through the new instruments first, or would you like to see some of the old ones? Let's have a vote, shall we? Come on, there's not a vote option in here, is there? You just have to vote by saying something in the chat room. So, do we go for new stuff? Should we look at the new stuff? I think we should. Screw the vote. I think you'll want to see what the new stuff is. I'm gonna keep you hanging on though, because probably most of you will want to see the Synclavia, and I'm not going to show that to you yet because it's good. What I'm going to show you is piano, because piano is this cracking physically modelled piano. So this isn't samples at all. This is complete physical modelling. Now I've got some really good really good sampled pianos, and they are my go-to pianos. And I've never been a fan of physically modelled pianos because they just seem to have something lacking. But I'm very, very pleased with this one. This is actually very, very good. Now on the surface, it looks fairly simple. As you can see, I've just scrolled the keyboard out the window there. So you've got this lovely high resolution image. And there's, again, just to point out, this familiar wrapper that you now see around the instrument that gives you a very familiar, identical set of tools across the range. And this is on every single instrument now. So you've got this very simple graphic. And you can see that as I'm playing, you've got the velocity curve showing you stuff there, and I can mess around with that velocity curve manually. I've also got presets, okay, but I can create my own and save that and choose that from a later thing. Over here on the left, I can choose from the pianos. So you have a concert grand. You then have a glass grand. You have an intimate grand. You then have a jazz. Oops, we've gone past the jazz upright. You then have a metal grand. Excuse me. You then have a piano bar upright. A pop grand. And a pop upright. And a classical upright. And then we're back to our concert grand. So a good selection of pianos to choose from. You have your velocity curve, you have your mic setup, and you can choose from AB Studio, XY Close, XY Studio, AB, and AB Studio. Okay, so you've got these different mic setups. You've got room setups for your reverb. So you have an acoustic concert hall, a classic concert hall, a glass room, and you might not be hearing all these differences through the YouTube compression, but you have all these different choices: large studio, jazz studio, modern hardware, so resonant recital hall, small piano room, suite large place, suite plate, wooden room, abandoned warehouse, and so on and so forth. Then you have your master control, and this is your master volume control and your master EQ. It's just like a 3-part EQ here, so you can mess around with that. Now this all looks very, very simple, and for the first hour or so I was playing with this and I thought, this is very nice, but there's not a lot of depth to the controls. And then I noticed these little arrows as I was so engrossed with playing, and when you pop these up, you then start to get a lot more control. So when it comes to piano tuning, you can mess around with the global tension of the strings, unison detune and stretch tuning. You can mess around with the hammers, whether you can change the hardness of the hammers, the position of the hammers, the dynamic range of the hammers. So much more control already. For your piano settings, this is one thing that I've banged on about. I bang on about it with every piano sample library, with every piano instrument that I play with. I insist that it has the mechanical noises, because for me that makes the piano. When it's completely clean and you can't hear the mechanics, then we have a problem in as much as the authenticity is concerned. So, for example, you've got pedal noise, and I'm not sure how much. I'm going to whack this up to full, but I'm just going to press the sustain pedal here. And you probably hear my foot clicking. Let me just. There is noise there. There is that that resonance. So that's good. You got key off noise, so that the hammer action and the hammer noise is itself. Again, this is all very subtle. My initial impression is it's a little too subtle, but I think it depends on your mic positioning and your room setup as well. How well those blend in the mix. Other instruments I use, it's a lot more obvious, and you have seemingly a lot more control over how you mix those sounds in. But they're there, and you've also got the soundboard resonance, and you've also got, as you can see when I move this, you can close the lid, and that's interesting. Some model pianos don't give you that option, so you've got lid closed, lid half open, lid full open. And if you change the piano again, if we go to an upright, we can shut the lid, shut the front door, and have it completely closed. So lots of nice control over the instrument. Mic setups, again, they vary depending on the piano, and that all helps and contributes to how the thing will sound. Again, with your reverb and your room setup, you can mess around. These are all convolution reverbs, apparently. And you've got your equalizer here as well. So plenty of stuff to get around with. Once again, we have the very familiar search and browse window. So again, as we saw with Analog Lab, you can search by your own words, by your types, your banks, your characteristics, and your playlists. Everything shows up in here. As you can see, you get 38 presets out of the bag. And of course, it's a piano. How many presets do you need? But of course, you can dick around with them to your heart's content and stick them in your favorites, stick them in your playlists. Away you go. So lots of different options there. Arturia Picks. Now, Arturia Picks is a playlist, and that just means that they've picked out some of their favorites for you. And then, of course, you can choose from all types. Again, it's not going to really show you much here because it's a fairly limited preset list. And once again, you can, if we go back to the thing here, you can set any of these controllers up to any MIDI controller that's connected and save and recall that. Down the bottom here, you've got your MIDI channel displays. As your MIDI input channel, you've got your panic button, CPU usage. You can turn off multi-core if you want to, or turn it on again. This doesn't appear in all the instruments, but I'm guessing with this one, because it's quite processor intensive, because it's convolution reverbs and it's modeling the piano and everything, you can make use of the multi-core or not, depending on the power of your system. And then you've got your pedals here, which you can manually adjust. So you've got your sostenuto pedal, your soft pedal, and your sustain pedal, which you can mess around with there. But of course, if you've got a decent controller with all three pedals, then they'll all automatically work as they would on a real piano. There you go. So that's piano, and it sounds really nice. It certainly hasn't shot to the top of my piano list. I reserve that for the C7 Grand library from Acoustic Samples that works on UVI's Falcon. That's an incredible piano. Mouth of wine there. Right. So let's crack on. Let's see what else is new in Analog Lab. Not Analog Lab, in Arturia's V Collection 5. Richard said you want to see the SEM. Well, that's not new, but I will get to that. Let's have a quick look at the stage. It's called the Stage 73 because they can't call it the Rhodes, because some arsehole has ripped off the Rhodes family and is now very happy to sue anyone that decides to use the Rhodes name in vain, which is a shame, but there you go. Long story. So, Stage 73. Let's just resize this up again so we can. This is very handy. Nice to know that you don't have to restart. I know some instruments, when you change and dick around with them, you have to restart. So, first things to point out with Stage 73 is that you get not only the suitcase version, what is known as the suitcase version of the Rhodes 73, you also get the stage version as well. Okay, and you can choose with the stage version, you can have the sound of a Rhodes Stage 73 and you can change the difference from the year of manufacture as well. So you get bass boost and tone changes there as well, which is a nice little detail. Let's go back to the suitcase. You'll notice here you've got obviously the volume control, but you've also got some pedals thrown in here. So you've got a phaser, an analog delay, an overdrive, and a flanger. You've got the onboard controls here of the volume, treble and bass, intensity, vibrato, and speed of vibrato. So you have to do that on every electric piano. I craze people. So there you go. That's what it looks like. But let me show you underneath the hood. So this is really cool. When you click on the hood here, you see all the tines that are laid out, but you also get these extra controls. So you get tone bar resonance control, pickup distance control, tuning, pickup alignment, damper distance, dynamics, hammer hardness and hammer noise, and harmonic profiles as well. So you can choose from different harmonic profiles. You've also got the velocity curve that you can mess around with as well. Click back on the lid and everything zips back away again. So on first look you think, oh, doesn't look like there's a lot there you can do. Then there is. So nice use there. Let's go to lots of presets, obviously not huge amounts because there's only one voice on one of these, but you can mess around. It gives you a lot of inspiration, and of course you can just go to here and start picking out some. Now some are obvious. If you're looking for certain classic Rhodes use of Rhodes sounds, then some of them will be obvious through their patch names. They're not as obvious as some sample manufacturers make them, but nonetheless, plenty there to choose from. Now you notice we've changed to the stage. And because you can mess around with these effects, and each effect has got at least 4 controls to it, so there's plenty of scope. Over here you got the amplifier, and the amplifier you can mess around with the volume and your EQ and your reverb and stuff. So again, lots of stuff. And of course all of this is as you can see the volume pedal is going because I'm moving the volume control on the keyboard. All of this is linked in, which is very nice. So there you go. That's the Stage 73 V, and you can have stage or suitcase. Very useful. Down to 3 viewers now. I must be really boring. It is Sunday. It's 10:20. Let's crack on, shall we? So let's close that one. And maybe if I'd have gone for the Synclavia first, maybe I'd have retained some of those valuable listeners. Or viewers, even. I keep referring to them as listeners. So let's have a look at B3. No prizes for guessing what is in the B3. As we wait for that just to load up. Now, one of the criticisms I made of V Collection 4 was that it was quite CPU intensive. I think that was probably more down to the fact that I was running it on an old Mac. Now I'm running this on a super fast, 1 year old Mac. CPU usage is not even worth mentioning. It barely gets above 3 bars down here, and there's quite a few bars for it to get through. So CPU usage wise, as long as you've got a fairly modern computer, these should be okay. I'm running an i5 3.4 gigahertz with 32 gig of RAM, and I've had absolutely zero issues with this whatsoever. So here we go. This is the B3. You know, what else can be said about the B3? It's a double manual keyboard. It has all of the harmonic tone wheel sliders as you would expect, and of course they are all MIDIable to your controller, so you can mess around with those. As you can see, I'm doing all of that through the sliders. So yeah, you can do all of this stuff with the controller on the keyboard. Vibrato on both the upper and the lower manuals, and then you've got your vibrato selector there. You've got preamps and master volumes, the percussion, yeah, everything you'd expect. Down the front of the keyboard, you've got your Leslie controls, so slow or fast, stop and run. Your volume pedal there. You've also got a reverb unit on top of your Leslie cabinet, so you can click on that and choose from a reverb impulse. Again, you've also got your array of delay, phaser, chorus, flanger, and overdrive pedals. So nothing out of the ordinary there. And as far as the tone and the sound is concerned, you know, I'm not an expert on the B3. I haven't got many B3 emulations or sample libraries. It's not an instrument or a type of instrument I particularly use that much. However, it sounds as authentic as I'd expect it to sound, and it has all the controls that I expect it to have, but it's not one of those things that's, you know, my big thing. So I couldn't sort of go into huge amounts of detail about its authenticity. Again, not a vast amount of presets, because again, it's just an organ, but you can mess around with these, and there's some really nice ones in here and some very scary ones and some very, you know, ordinary stuff in here, but plenty of stuff to mess around with. And again, of course, as per all the instruments, you've got the same browser window there as well. So I won't hang around on the B3 too much. Let's go and look at what's next. We've done piano, we've done stage, we've done B3. Farfisa, that's a new one. Another organ. Let's get this one out of the way. Now the Farfisa organ is an electric combination organ, as they're known here in the UK. Well, I say here in the UK. As far as I'm concerned, there's only one person that is synonymous with the Farfisa, and that's Clint Boone from Inspiral Carpets. So if you are into reproducing some Inspiral Carpet stuff, you can't go wrong with a Farfisa, because that's what Clint uses. So this is the Farfisa Compact that they've modelled here. I'll just put it into high res there. So again, now one thing you might notice here, I don't know if you can see that there. You'll see it move if I do that. Now, I believe that's your tremolo, and it was placed at a point where you used your knee to move that lever. What they've done is they've actually attached that control to the aftertouch on the keyboard. So I'm just playing the note and then press a little bit harder, and you get that in there. Again, I'm not an aficionado of all things Farfisa. I know that it's an organ that has these different instrument types on there. Of course, they never sounded like anything like the surprisingly, this Farfisa, actually, when I was playing through this, when I was writing the review, there is some really nice tones on here. There is your obvious Farfisa type sounds. But there's also some stuff, as I showed you this one just now. Which is just lovely stuff. This is something I'm actually going to be looking into a little bit more, because just some really nice stuff in there. So I was quite pleased with this one. So kind of your classic combo organ. It's all very nice. And again, you have your amplifier down here, where you can mess around with the EQ and the volume and the mic positioning, so you can have the mic on the axis or off the axis, you have it bright or not. And again, your range of pedals down the bottom here, which you can use to your heart's content. So there you go, that's Farfisa. Not going to spend a massive amount of time on that one. However, I think now we've gone through 4 of the 5 new instruments. We've done B3, we've done piano, we've done stage, we've done Farfisa. Of course, the new one is the big one. And those of you who know me know that, of course, I'm a massive Fairlight fan. So being a Fairlight fan, I am well aware of the Synclavia and what the Synclavia can do, and how it compares. And of course, I reviewed UVI's The Beast, which is their Synclavia sample library. I reviewed that last year sometime, I think, or maybe before. But loved that, and I've been following Cameron Jones, who is one of the original Synclavia programmers. I've been following what he does on his website, and he's still doing stuff under the Synclavia name, and it's mainly bespoke hardware to work with custom software that he builds. So if you want to do that, you have to spend quite a bit of money to get kind of into the modern Synclavia world, and it's really not that a common a thing. But there's always been this talk of a VST version, or should I say, just say a virtual instrument version, whether it's a VST or an audio unit or whatever. And then somebody, a guy called Tony Gallagher, sent me a message saying, have you seen this? Because something changed on the website just the other week. And it said, coming soon, Synclavia V. And it's the first time it's full Synclavia in a virtual instrument. I was like, whoa, this sounds good. And then Arturia come up and say, hey, it's us. We've worked with Cameron Jones, and we've come up with this virtual instrument based on the Synclavia, programmed in conjunction with the guy who programmed the original Synclavia. So this is about as authentic, you would guess, as authentic as you will get to a Synclavia, a real Synclavia, which of course cost the price of 2.5 houses back in the day. What they haven't done is, naturally, they haven't recreated the entire Synclavia, because like the Fairlight, the Synclavia was a multifaceted beast. So the Synclavia was a hard disk recording system, multi-track hard disk recording system. It was an FM synthesizer, and it was also a sampler as well. Much like the Fairlight was a sequencer, and it was later in later life, later stages, later iterations, it became a hard disk recorder too. It was a sampler, and it was also had a synthesizer engine, and it had an additive synthesizer in there. So they both kind of did the same thing. They just did it slightly differently. But the Synclavia has this wonderful dark wooden keyboard with the black panels and the silver knobs and the B52 red clicking buttons on there, and looks very nice. And back in the day, people was often split. You had your Fairlight lovers and you had your Synclavia lovers, and never the twain shall meet. That was mainly down to the fact, I guess, that not a lot of people could afford to use one or the other, so they invested in one and liked it, mainly because they had to justify the outlandish expense. But also, many people didn't own them. Many studios did, though, and so I guess if you went into a studio and they were a Fairlight studio, you got used to the Fairlight. If they were a Synclavia studio, you got used to the Synclavia, and again, your allegiances were set. So what Arturia have done is they've simply taken the FM part of the Synclavia, and it was powerful FM, way beyond what the DX could do. And in fact, it was doing this before the DX range came out from Yamaha. So they've just emulated that, and it is an emulation. It is a modelled emulation. It's software. It's not samples. So let's get that straight out, that this is not sampled. This is the software recreating exactly what the Synclavia hardware was doing back in the day. Now, if you've seen a Synclavia keyboard, you'll know that it's a lot more detailed than this. Well, that's okay, because Arturia, as they do, is they hide some of their panels up to make it clear. But now we have, as you can see, a lot more control over your controls. It's an FM synth, so basically you take a sine wave and you modulate it with one or more other sine waves and different types of waves. But also with the Synclavia, you had this concept of partials, and you could layer these partials up. And on the original Synclavia, you could layer 4. On this Synclavia, you can layer 12. So it's triple the amount of layering capabilities, which is pretty impressive. So you have different waveforms that you can choose from. You've got different patterns for arpeggiators you can choose from. You've got all these different settings that you can mess around with. So you've got your obviously your envelope settings, chorus, the FM controls. Now, on the original Synclavia, you had the big silver dial on the left hand side. So rather than having just that one big silver dial on the left-hand side, what Arturia have done is made lots of little silver dials, because you used to have to assign the control to the wheel. So you'd say, right, I want to adjust the FM amount. So you'd click a button that said FM amount, and then by turning the silver dial to the left, you change that setting. All they've done here is they've just given it an individual setting, and that's much handier when it comes to mapping all of this stuff to MIDI controllers. So what else have we got here? You got your timbre settings, your arpeggiators, there's polyphonic modes, portamento modes, and then, as you can see, there's a cable that runs out of the back of the instrument, and you'll see there's a button here that says SCR, and that takes you to the Synclavia screen. And the Synclavia had, like the Fairlight, it had a green on black screen, and this has been replicated and enhanced. You can see here you've got your 12 partials, and as you click through the partials, you can see where they're active, where those partials are. So at the moment, this one's only got 2 partials. So you can mess around with the envelopes of each partial here. You can solo and mute them. You've got your key dynamics for each partial. You've got your time slices. You've got your mixer. You've got your modulation matrix. You've got your effect settings here as well, and your general settings, your overall settings for the system. So lots of stuff to play with, and I have hardly touched this, to be honest, in terms of the depth of stuff that's going on here. By pressing the screen button again, it takes you back to the keyboard, and of course you can hide that top level keyboard just to bring everything back into like a performance mode here. Now there are a lot of presets for this, so a lot more, as you can see, because the potential is huge. I like this one. Yeah, it's this patch here is called Dolby Flying North. If I knew how to play Flying North, I'd play it. But I've listened back and thought, oh yeah, there it is. So yeah, lots and lots of stuff in here to play around with, and there's lots of original stuff, lots of stuff that is clearly a nod to things that have happened in the past. I could go through this forever. There's so many nice things in here. You get the idea. Of course, there is one sound that is synonymous with the Synclavia, I guess. I'm not sure if I get the right key here. There we go. Now, instantly recognisable, that's the phase gong, which is used at the beginning of Beat It by Michael Jackson. It's a hugely famous sound, but sounds a little bit weak, and so this was obviously a preset that came with the Synclavia, and it was just beefed up. So too much of a sustain on that, or a release, should I say. So yeah, you can mess around with this. Let's see how else can we beef that? My mind is addled at the moment. Let's give it. Release is still doing my head in. But you get the idea. So lots going on here, and some amazing sounds, and one of the big bonuses of this is that over the original Synclavia you've got 3 times as many partials to layer up and mess around with. I'd say I've never really messed around with a Synclavia, so I don't know my way around this fully yet. It's something I really want to dive into, because the sonic capabilities, just by flicking through the presets, you think, God, is that just an FM synth? It just, you listen to a DX7 and you think, my God, some of those sounds are classic sounds, some of them are really nice, and it does things that other synths can't do. However, there's so much more life and variety to what this can do, which I guess is why it costs so much money, and why it was lauded by so many people. Zappa, of course, very famous for using this. But the Synclavia was used everywhere. It was as common as the Fairlight, pretty much. It was, people had one or the other. Level 42 had a Synclavia, or should I say Wally Badarou had a Synclavia and used it with level 42. Zappa had a Synclavia, of course. Paul Hardcastle had a Synclavia, and pretty much 19 was written entirely on a Synclavia. It was very, very popular in post-production studios for effects and other things. So it was, it was all over different kind of movies back in the day. And you just type in Synclavia and have a look at the raft of people that used it. It's much like the Fairlight, used by the greatest and the best. I'm just going to pour myself another glass of wine because all this talking is making me dry of mouth. So they've taken what I think is the most unique part of the instrument, and that's the FM synth, and they've modelled it, and they don't need to do the sampling. You've just got some incredible sounds here, some really incredible sounds. A lot of these are from from the original sounds, and some are new patches that have been created. Again, I'm not entirely sure how well some of these patches come across with YouTube and its compression. Not only YouTube compression, but the streaming thing that I'm using. Your typical FM, kind of bell-like sounds, all sorts. Let's tell you what. Let's go through the library here. So you can see there's vast amounts of characteristics here. You'll notice that Wally Badarou has actually been roped in here to create Wally's done a lot of sounds on here, which is nice to know because he is an expert at using this. So plenty of stuff to choose from. Lots of originals, so 50 original sounds in there, and the rest of the stuff is 469 patches. Excuse me. So yeah, there you go. That's Synclavia, and I'm massively impressed with the sound and the way they've designed the front end. It's very clear. Of course, that's all helped by the fact that you've got these high resolution screens. Talking about these high, because these can go up to, as I said here, the windows can go up to 200%. So this is on a 27-inch iMac. That's how all I can see there is what you're seeing right now. So if you really are short of sight, then this is perfect. However, I'm told that these these interfaces are designed for 4K and 5K monitors, so they're very high resolution, which is nice. So there you go. That's Synclavia. So that's all the new stuff, and I'll probably wrap this up in a minute. But we've also got, as you've seen before, you've got the ARP 2600. You've also got the CS80. You've got the Jupiter 8. You've got the Matrix 12. You've got the Mini Moog, or just they call it the Mini 3. You've got the Modular in there as well. The Oberheim SEMV, the Piano, the Prophet, the Selena, the Stage 73, and the Vox Continental, and the Wurlitzer. Now you'll see here Spark. Spark was in V Collection 4, is no longer in V Collection, so it's been removed from V Collection 5. which I find odd because Spark was actually quite a cool drum machine. Now I know that it's kind of the software version of the Spark hardware that they do, and I don't know whether there's some kind of reasoning behind that, but it's sadly no longer part of the V Collection 5. So you see all these icons here. All the ones with the square edges are V Collection 5. All the ones with the round edges are V Collection 4. So one of the most improved instruments visually for me was the CS80V, which was one of Arturia's first forays. It was one of their early forays into modelling old classic analogues, and was probably one of the most criticised because lots of people were saying, "Oh, it sounds nothing like the original. The original didn't do this, and the original didn't do that, and blah blah blah." And it's fair enough. Arturia have come in for a lot of stick. Unfortunately, I've never been in the presence of a full-blown CS80V. Never had the chance to play around with one myself, and so I can't possibly comment on that. What I can say is that it does sound absolutely fucking lush. And there's a metric fuck ton of sounds in here. Let's just turn that up a little bit. Really does. It's just a gorgeous sounding thing, and I don't care whether it sounds like the real thing or not. It sounds as I would expect one of these things to sound. And as you can see, there's an absolute ton of presets in here for you to go through and fiddle with and use as inspiration. One of the first things that people ask is, oh, does it do the Blade Runner stuff? And yes, it does. Unfortunately, I have got the Blade Runner preset somewhere. Where have I got that? Let me see if I can find that. So did I store it in here? Because a guy called Glenn Darcy, who works for Arturia, actually pretty much programmed spot on the Blade Runner horn patch. No, I'm not going to waste time looking for it now. But it's I've definitely got it somewhere. It does do it. You just have to program it, and it might even be under a preset. It might be something very. Actually, there was one that I did find. Let's see if I can find that again. This will demonstrate. It was actually called something horn. So was it Longhorn? That's Howard's one, wasn't it? Jamie Newman. Wasn't that one? Maybe it's Control Horns. There you go. That's the one. Let's just turn the volume down a little bit. I can't remember. I used to be able to play that off. Not quite the same, but close. And you can obviously then, if you want to, fiddle around, as they say. Much like before, you've got the top panel that changes into giving you more controls, which is nice. You haven't got the rotating fans anymore. They used to have rotating fans, but I guess that's something that just took up too much CPU. Yeah, there you go. So that's CS80V. Now, Richard wanted to see SEM. So this is the Oberheim SEM. Interesting to see that in V Collection 4, the SEM was called the Oberheim SEM. Now it's just called the SEM, and I just wonder whether now that Tom Oberheim is back in business, whether that's had an effect on the naming convention. Because again, it used to be, they used to have Moog with the Mini. That's gone. Although Prophet still stays. I think that's neat that Dave Smith hasn't really kicked off about that, or maybe he has, I don't know. Wurlitz is now down to Whirly, and Vox Continental's just, that's now expanded to Vox Continental. It was Vox. It's all to do with licensing and shit, but there you go. So let's expand the view on this one to 120. Okey-doke. And we'll shut that up. This is a seriously impressive synthesizer. Sounding, it's got so much bottom end to it. Pointing out with this patch, I'm just holding one key down. I'm doing nothing else but just holding this one key down. It's almost creating. You can just imagine with this, right? You take a very sparse two-step kind of burial drum loop and just play a few notes on the top of that, and then you've got a bloody burial song right there. This is one note, and it's just evolving through the synth. I didn't give this synth much time before, but now it really is. again, there's a ton of presets for you to go through in this one, but I think this is quite a special. Quite a special sounding synth. There is a patch here that I was looking at earlier. I can't remember what it was called now. Oxygen 4. That's a nice one. That wasn't the one I was looking for. There is another one somewhere. And I can't find it. But yeah, you get the idea. This is a cracking analog synth. So a lot of these kind of effects are achieved through this programmer here. Modulation matrix and effects sections here. Just really, it's kind of deceptively simple. You look at the front panel and you think, well, there's not a lot there to mess around with, and all of a sudden you start digging in and there is an awful lot. Lovely, really lovely synth. And even if you don't want to go for V Collection, you want a really good analog synth or analog virtual synth in your collection, then go and just get this, because it's so good and pretty simple. What else should we look at? I hope that was good enough for you, Richard. I'm happy to do more later on. Let's have a look at Modular. Again, this is one where the new graphic interface really comes into its own. Nice wine I've got tonight. This is one of Arturia's early efforts, been revamped and remodeled and redesigned at the front end when it eventually loads up. So the reason that I'm bringing this one up is that this really does show you the benefit of these scalable windows, because before with Modular, and once this is loaded, we'll do a side by side, shall we? Do a side by side comparison. So this is Modular, which of course, as we know, is based on a Moog modular. And whilst you still do have to scroll up and down, you get the width here. You get you see much more detail. It's much easier to read. But let me show you what it used to look like. Yep. So you can see straight away, this is what it used to look like on my 27-inch iMac. I couldn't make that any bigger. All I could do was hide some of the panels or show some of the panels. And that was it. And it was incredibly frustrating to use. And yeah, it was just not very nice. So this, in its new guise, is a godsend. Now, given the fact that you have to scroll through this pretty much anyway, it's on a 27-inch screen, you could actually start thinking about, well, okay, I'm going to go for full width. So that's 160. Let's go to 140. So 140 gives you this almost screen-filling width, and it's just so much nicer to look at. It's so much easier on the eye. Of course, it sounds sounds incredible. So of course I'm playing chords on what was a monophonic synthesizer. But of course you can, down here, you can control whether it's mono, unison or poly, and you can choose the amount of voices. So if your system can handle it, you can take a patch. Let's see, I'm trying to remember some of the stuff I've been using. No. So this is a monophonic sequence. We can kick it into poly mode and then just whack it up to 32 note polyphonic. Actually, that's probably not the best patch to show that on. Let's see. Let's try that one. Nice monophonic lead, but of course we can ramp that up to 32 voices. Polyphony. Hardly makes the CPU sweat. Really good. Now, just notice there's some questions in here. Richard said, thanks, you're more than welcome. Mickey says, are the interfaces now vector based? Sorry, that was a really bad accent. Are the interfaces now vector based? So by that I mean, are you referring to the fact that the scalable interfaces, the size? No, I don't think so. I think what they've done, as I said earlier on, what I would have liked the interfaces to have been able to do is, like, you can grab a handle in the corner here and just stretch it, and they would then, like I say, with with vector graphic, they would scale infinitely as much or as little as you'd like. These interfaces have just these. Was it 8 or 9? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 different size options. So you just choose one of these, and you just get used to it. But whilst I would have loved to have had a fully scalable interface that I could drag and drop and make into whatever I wanted it to be, I guess that was probably too difficult. The fact that they've got these different sized windows now just answers my request. And I was really surprised that, in my review of V Collection 4, I said there were 3 things that concerned me about the collection. First of all was the size of the interfaces. Second of all was the uniformity. The kind of everything was different, so each instrument had a different configuration. Some instruments had features that others didn't. Some instruments had identical features but put them in different places under different buttons, called them something different, but they did the same thing. There was no cohesiveness across the interface. And the third thing was the CPU usage. Well, as far as I'm concerned, I think the CPU usage was probably more my machine at the time than it was them, because I'm experiencing absolutely no problems with CPU usage. What would be interesting, and I will try and do this before I complete the review and publish it, is I'll try and throw it onto my old iMac, which I still have, and see how that fares. I might just put just one instrument on and just do an A/B test and see if it really was just the computer. So yeah, there was that, and then the CPU thing, the uniform instrument wrapper, if you will, That's been answered. They've delivered it with this thing. Every instrument now has this bar at the top. Everything's in exactly the same place. Everything's called the same. Everything does the same thing, apart from when you call up an instrument that has something specifically unique to it. So if we take the Prophet, there we go. Hopefully the sound is back. Let me know if it is in the chat room. I think what happened was when I fired up this, I got it routed through my balance sound card, and I think it kind of stole the rights away from my streaming. There we go. We're back. So yeah, that's Prophet 5 and 5 VS. So what else have we got to show you? It might be worth showing you this, which it's not an instrument, but it's actually the way that Arturia do their thing now, and it's much easier. So this is the software center, and it's so simple to load and register all of this stuff. You get your license code, and you go to the website and you punch it in under your account, and then you come over here and everything's loaded up, and then you can just download the instruments you want, or download the ones you need. Everything's retained. It's just very, very simple. and you can set it up so that when you install the instrument, it downloads the stuff, installs it, and then deletes everything. It deletes the whole installation stuff and gets rid of it for you, so it keeps it nice and clean. Very useful and works really, really well. One thing that's also worth mentioning is that V Collection 5 is, as always, available as VST instruments, as audio units instruments, as AAX and RTAS plugins as well, but also now the native instruments. Is it NKV? I can't remember. The native instruments plugin format. It's available in that as well. So if you've got any of that native instrument stuff that uses plugins, it's native in their format too. So they've covered the board really. What else have we got in here that we haven't shown you? The ARP. Yeah, actually, the ARP is quite nice. Again, the ARP 2600. This is a good one to show you an A and a B against the old V Collection. So this is the latest version, and it's nice, it's big, it's clear. You can mess around. It just makes it easier to dick around with the cables and. But if you compare that to the last version, which from a visual perspective hadn't really changed that much, so there you go. So that's as big as the old ARP used to get, and you can see the difference already. I mean, it's just so much easier and nicer to use like this. So much easier and nicer. One thing I haven't looked at is on here you had the blue case, and now you've got the black and the orange, and I wasn't sure whether you could change that at all. You used to be able to hit the Arturia panel. No, there used to be a way of doing that. I don't know if there's a way of doing that anymore. One thing, actually, this is something that's worth mentioning. So I love everything about this, but unless they've hidden it somewhere, I've not found it yet. They've knocked something out from the old version. So as much as I dislike this, let me just minimize that. As much as I dislike this, you've got this thing here called Sound Map, and if you click on Sound Map, you get this, and it looks quite, and it is quite rudimentary, but it allows you to kind of go through. Let me turn, because I'm going to get doubled over here, aren't I? Let me turn that off, and let me. So we've got the output there, we've got the key lamp there. Okay. So Sound Map is kind of like this interactive exploration through and you can filter out by presets. You can take the presets away. And it just kind of helps you discover new sounds and whilst I didn't use it a huge amount, I kind of like messing around and getting inspired by it. So it's a shame that the new version doesn't feature that, but there's so much more that you get. Another one that I really like now in this new high resolution stuff. Let me just bring that back up and see if anybody's chatting. Okay. Is the Jupiter. I think everybody wanted a Jupiter, right? Back in the day. And so here it is, and it is rather lovely to look at. Um, Huge amount of presets, and also lots of stuff to play with up here. So there's this thing called Galaxy that does this kind of randomization and rotation through LFO settings, and you can, assign those to the filters or the oscillators, and it will, just go through and randomize stuff. And there's also a sequencer. There's an effects section, and of course your keyboard range as well, velocity and envelopes and stuff like that. I did have, let me see if I can call them up again. Import. I've got to remember where I stuck this stuff. So sound libraries. There we go. Not V Collection, Jupiter 8. Is that a load? Oh, that's because it's that. This was just the Save a Prayer stuff that I managed to find online. Just to see how it compared. Maybe I can just drag it in. So Save a Prayer. Don't let me do it, is it? Why is that? Why are you not letting me do that? Import. It won't let me import. Strange. Anyway, I can tell you that it does sound very authentic in that respect. But again, more and more people said about this, oh, it doesn't sound like the real thing. And I've never had the luxury, and I need to go and see Dave and have a play with his. And I'm sure that Dave will give me his informed opinion about how it doesn't sound the same. But it has a lot of the same qualities, and it's a nice sounding synth. So I'm not going to complain. Yeah, so there you go. That's V Collection 5. I'm not going to bother going through the others. I mean, there's so much to go through. But trust me when I say that this stuff is really, really good. Very good indeed. And my issues with V Collection 4 have been completely addressed. I'd love to take some credit for that, but I can't, I'm sure. And I don't doubt that I was the only person that's making those observations. But sonically, they sound as sweet as they've always done. Visually, they now match their sonic abilities with their much larger resolution screens and this uniform interface across the instruments. Just what it's done is it's made it much more like what these guys do. Let me show you this. This is UVI Falcon, which is, in my opinion, one of the greatest instruments out there. Mickey says it's very good and he's going to have to raid the bank. You know what, Mickey? I would wait, seriously, because this takes some beating. So you really need to kind of think about, and this is what I'm talking about with that, you know, just by grabbing the edge of the screen, you can mess it, you know, just rescale everything, and it's just fluid. And that's what I want from my instruments. I want that kind of fluidity. So this is Falcon. This is an unbelievably strong, powerful instrument. Let me just make sure that I've got the audio. Yeah, that's fine. Because not only is this a sample playback, so these are all my UVI libraries, and you can just pull these up and get straight in. So then I'll show you that C7 Grand. So you've got your contact style scripted interfaces, but Falcon is a synth in its own right, and it's a synth with a stupendous amount of engines. So you've got the sampling engines, you've got the analog synthesis or the virtual analog, you've got the FM. There's just so many strings to its bow that it's unbelievably powerful. So you've got all the scripted interface stuff, you know, that you get with some of these big instruments. As I said before, yeah, I love the key noise on stuff like this. But not only has it got all of that, but it's got so much more. Let me find the Falcon factory bank, because that'll get me in. So let's choose. So you get this kind of front end, shall we say, but you really need to be over here. You can see now this has got wavetable, so you see this wavetable stuff here. It's just incredible, the sounds that this thing can make. And the granular stuff that it can do, oh my word. So you've got this granular synthesis stuff going on, and I've never seen anything like this. This multi-granular stuff where you can set multiple positions. As you can see, I don't know if you can see this on the screen here, you've got all these different points that are going through different, like 5 different playheads, if you will, that are going through this sample, doing lots of different things. It's just stunning. This is a string one. Where it's going through string samples at various different points, at various different speeds, just picking out the grains. So there's the sample. And it's just evolved. Oh man, yeah, I swear this thing blows my mind every time I turn it on. You know, yes, I use it a lot for as you can see, all these different libraries, and these are just sample libraries. But when you dig into what it can do as a synthesis engine, unbelievable, It really is. It's just, the different types of oscillator that you've got on here just beggars belief. I forget how. I read my review. Go to the blog. I know this was all supposed to be about Arturia, but we kind of got distracted here. What else? Yeah. So there's some really cool independent stuff. This is one that I've started a review. I need to finish the review of this. So I love the violin. I've always wanted to play the violin, but my fingers, and this is what stopped me from playing guitar. My fingers are too short and stubby, so I couldn't reach around, as they say. Ooh, I misses. Couldn't reach around properly. So if I can get a really expressive violin sound or an expressive guitar, I feel very happy, because it kind of makes me capable of playing those things that I couldn't play before. So as you can see, this takes a little bit of effort to load up, because it's a massive library, but it's just one instrument. It's this violin, and what this guy has done, he has programmed, done the scripting on this so well that it kind of anticipates how you're playing as you're playing it, and yeah, the articulations that it delivers, it's incredible. It's not normally this slow. Maybe it's because I've got lots of things open and I'm streaming, eating lots of memory. Come on. But yeah, it's incredible, and he's working on a cello version next. So I need to get this review done and then crack on with the cello one. Come on, it's taking forever. Yeah, Falcon is just an amazing tool, and I forget how much it is. About $350 full price, which I think is less than V Collection. But with V Collection, you're definitely getting like 17 instruments, 17 very powerful instruments. With Falcon, you'll get the factory library, which is very, very good. But it's more of a sound design tool. And of course, you can host all of your UVI libraries in there as well, which are coming down in price and quite often are reduced and on offer, and well worth it. They are very good. I don't know why they're not as popular as Contact. I think because Contact is such a pirated piece of software that it just makes it so popular. But yeah, come on, almost there. This would be worth a wait, I tell you. I'm going to shut down in a minute because I'm getting tired. I've got to go back to work tomorrow. Have you all had a nice long weekend? I have. Quite a nice little break. Hello, Arthur. Just noticed you in there, sorry. Arthur Stone, yes. I think he was agreeing with Mickey's low end. It's hard to not agree with Mickey's low end. And we've lost someone. It'd be nice to see who's actually following. It doesn't tell me the names of people. Okay, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Come on. This is not normally this slow. I think it's probably because I'm choking it up with lots of other stuff. Oh, this is boring. Isn't it? Ah, here we go. So... it's just, I mean, that's incredible. It's such an incredible instrument. And so well sampled, and that whole chord feature. Let's put that back on again. It's a lovely thing, and the fact that it makes me sound like I know what I'm doing when I'm playing it, it's even better. It's one of the reasons I like my Korg Prophecy, is that you can the expression on there is so good that you can actually get away with being crap, and it actually makes you a lot better. Arthur says, sounds great, like the articulation of string noise. Yep, very good. It really does. It's incredible. And of course, what you can then do is you can take this, and in the effects section, you can throw in something like Spark Verb. So let's take that and let's put it into something really odd. With a really long tail on it. It's great. I just love it. Absolutely love it. Because once you've got one of these sample libraries in here, you can then just add in whatever you want into your effects chain, and you can mess around with the mods, mess around with the samples individually. It just opens everything up. If you have this just using the UVI workstation, which is a great free piece of software, it plays brilliantly, but open it up into Falcon, and then you can do all sorts of wonderful, amazing things with it. So he's done is this the cello? Let's see. Cello with reverb. Let's do that one. I know he sent me something not long ago. Yeah. Just to kind of give me a does, obviously he's fallen short of giving me just legato stuff, but he's done a fantastic job of capturing those samples. And if the cello works as well as the violin does, it's going to be fucking amazing. Yeah, so there you go. Here's a nice fun thing. How good is this? That's me playing that. Anyway, they also did, what else did they do? What was the other one they did? It's in there somewhere. Where is it? There you go. So they did a pong one as well, or ping as they called it. Um, it's silly, but it keeps me happy. I'll show you this. This is very cool. Hopefully this one won't take as long to load. The guys at UVI are really good fun, and they do some cracking stuff, but I mean, they need more people to do third-party libraries. And I think what it would be great if some contact library developers said, you know what, let's go and try and do some UVI, because this stuff is. So let me just see if I can. There we go. Just need to find my place on the keyboard. It's been a while since I've used this one. This one is great. Do you know the guy that did this he's done this with this acoustic guitar, which I believe is a Les Paul, and Arthur's just said in there about mic guitars. Yeah, you want mic guitars? Here you go. Choose your mics. You've got lots of mics, and you can move the mics around. You can have them in different places and choose the pickups. It's just stunning. And you got this playback thing where you just hold the notes down, okay, and then choose your playback style. And if you don't like that strum pattern, hey, you can go in and make your own. So you got a funk one here, so. And it's all based on the notes you hold down, and it just makes you sound like a guitar player, which is exactly what somebody like me, a complete feckless idiot when it comes to playing the guitar, needs. So you've got that pattern mode. There's a MIDI guitar mode. So if you have a MIDI guitar, you can hook that up to this, and it plays through the MIDI guitar. Song builders. So here you hold down the notes, which theoretically holds down the notes on the fretboard. And you can pick or strum. And then these like key switching modes up here. But yeah, it's just mind-blowing stuff. It's I sit in awe of these people, and then you've got he's done the same thing with a Telecaster. So same kind of programming, same kind of interface, but now with an electric guitar based on a Fender Telecaster. which is really very good. It's a bit of a slow one as well. I must be going to bed soon. Come on. Oh, it's speeding up now. Anyway, so in conclusion, Arturia V Collection 5, there will be a proper full-on review over on the blog, failedmuso.com/blog. That'll be coming in the next few days, and then hopefully I will do a proper review video at some point soon to complement that, and to post up onto YouTube for people to slag me off on, which is what they do, or some people do. Every now and again I get an email, you talk too much. Yeah, well, you don't have to watch the video. Okay, so same thing here. But of course, you've got where are we? So pattern mode. And what I like about this is you play the piano chord. Okay, so if I wanted to play a C chord, which is there, sorry, not D. This is C major chord. It chooses the right notes on the fretboard to give you a proper C chord in the guitar world. So obviously with the C, you're getting different notes. It actually kind of picks out, and you can change the voicing arrangements as well. It's very comprehensive stuff. And of course you have effects. Great, it's just such a good thing. Highly recommended. But I think I'm going to leave it there because I could go through this. Actually, why don't I show you before I go? So this is the beast, which we touched upon when I was going through the Synclavia V. What am I doing here? So, beast. But I'm trying to find it now. Was it there? Where did that go? Oh, there it is. Duh. So yeah, this is the beast, which is a sampled Synclavia. There you go. But actually, this is very good. But it's all samples. And somebody did ask me the other day, how does it compare? And I think it's kind of like apples and oranges, this is a sample or a sampler, a sample library, and what Arturia have done is a proper model. But what this gives you is what this gives you that Arturia's Synclavia V doesn't give you is all the samples of the sample library. So you didn't. You only get the FM stuff with Synclavia V, and with the Beast you get the samples of the samples, if you see what I mean. And you also get the drum stuff, the drum samples that they derived from there as well. So yeah, so that's the big difference. So you could say that there's reason to have both. You could say that maybe the Beast is the better one to have because it covers more of the options, and there are many samples on here. But I think from a sound design point of view, the Synclavia V probably beats it, because there's only so much you can do here with this, even though it has got some kind of control over the samples. You're just messing with samples. You're not actually messing with raw waveforms and the like. So there you go. I shall leave you there, because it's now 10 to midnight and I've been broadcasting for over 2 hours. Anyway, click on some ads, will you? No, earn me some money. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that, my little audience. And watch out for the full review of V Collection 5 that's coming up in about a week or so, and there'll be a video to go along with that as well. And have a fun week. It's only a 4-day week. Yay. So there we go. I will catch you all on the other side. Thank you ever so much for watching. I've got to figure out how to stop this thing now. I think I'll just click here. All right, guys and girls, if there's girls listening. If there are, wow. Bye.